Uh, this game was pretty much typical Lorilla game. Uh, this is kind of the game where you'll see every time in Lorilla. You can see Kled running into the enemy jungle, and there's absolutely no reason for him to be there. If you wanted to check blue, all you need to do is just ward here, and it will give that information which side the jungle is starting at. But because he went in and face checked the bush, he dies. And then we'll look at this in Vayne on bottom side. So you missed your Q, bit unfortunate, but you forced the heal out of Jinx, so it's a good trade. Obviously, as Nami, you want to start with W normally. But Q is the correct call here because you got no CC in this team cup. So you're the one that have to engage. So starting with Q is a good choice. You normally want to start with W because it's pretty much the same reason as Senna's Q. You can deal damage while healing your own or your teammates' health. So it pretty much negates enemy damage while dealing damage yourself. But I just wanted to talk about this first play. Before we talk about that, we need to talk about the matchup first. We'll just compare the bot matchup. If we compare ADC, it's Vayne against Jinx. And they're both late gamers, so you can sort of expect them to be even. However, Jinx has slightly longer range with her skills. So Jinx will have slightly easier laning phase. She can also wave clear better than Vayne, so Jinx will definitely have easier laning phase compared to Vayne. And if it means easier laning phase, it practically means they have slight advantage. Now, if we look at Senna and Nami, it's also roughly the same, just like Nami and Jinx, but because Senna has longer range on her Q, and she can heal herself and her teammate at the same time, unconditionally, whereas Nami needs to heal herself, bounce it onto the enemy, and then bounce that back onto Vayne to heal yourself and ADC. So you can sort of expect Senna to have easy laning phase as well. So overall, this bot matchup, enemy has the advantage. But you do well to land your Q here. You land it onto Jinx. So at the moment, it's 2-on-1. Because Jinx is airborne. So you can just focus one target down. However, as soon as she's up at the maximum point now, that's end of your turn. Remember how I said League of Legends is pretty much a turn-based game? It's the same in this kind of situation. You used up your skill, your Q, so whereas enemies still have their skills available. So it's now enemy's turn because Jinx is just going to be dropping back down onto the ground and she's going to fight back. So you do well to get that last auto attack in and then retreat. Vayne, however, makes a huge mistake here. He rolls in as Jinx airborne status comes to an end. Obviously, as Vayne, if he just auto attacked and then rolled out, that would have been a good trade because he'll dodge or he'll get out of Senna's range. But because he rolled forward, there's nothing else for him to disengage with. So this is a poor play by Vayne. You did everything right. Vayne did this one poorly. Now, why I talk about this is, like I said, this is typical League of Legends in Lorilo. You got top laner feeding, you got ADC who's playing really badly. These early moments as support is a good time to analyze or rate your ADC. If he's not capable of carrying, you have to support other teammates, someone that's capable of carrying more than this guy. So what that means is, for me, generally, I give them 2-3 chances. Everyone can make a mistake, but if they make mistakes like these, which for me is lack of a basic knowledge of the game, that's for me. It's a yellow card for me, pretty much. And as soon as they receive a red card, I try to help out other laners. Now, when I mean by help out other laners, it doesn't mean you just ditch them completely in bot lane and you just roam around. That will tilt ADC in low elo. They'll probably rage quit. You don't want that. You want everyone in your team to be in the game. So as support, what I do is rush the brutes. I always rush the brutes regardless of how good or bad the ADC is. I just spend extra turns in helping out other lanes compared to ADC. Because in the end, support have to carry the team, not ADC. So you have to always look at who's capable of carrying the team, and if they're not capable of carrying the team, you have to support those who can. Now, I'll show you what you need to do when you rush your bridge first. When I mean rush the bridge first, it means buying bridge of mobility or bridge of swiftness immediately. Not buying any other items, just buying the bridge. Obviously, to maximize the most out of it, to maximize the bridge, you need to move around a lot. You have to use the map broadly. As support, obviously, with extra movement speed, you're not going to have much influence in bot lane. The other positions which will allow you to have big impact on is mid, because it's closer to your lane and there's multiple entry route from bot lane. And the other lane is jungle, depending on the jungler position. And the other one is top lane. But I don't recommend top lane because that's way too far to go there and come back. So generally, mid and jungle is the lanes that you're trying to influence. Now, we'll assume that you got the bridge of mobility. So you're back at the base here. If you do not have the quest item completed, so if you don't have the ward, you generally just want to do this. So you have your bridge, but you don't have the wards. If you have your control ward, I'll go through that. But we'll just imagine when you don't have any wards. You want to just come down here. Is that the thickest I can get? Okay. So you just want to come down here and around here, because you don't want to get spotted as you come directly down. Obviously, you can go directly down if the enemy has like no escape and you need to quickly save mid or something. That's fine, depending on the situation. But generally, you just want to go around so that they don't see you come. And then gank this way, here, or this way, depending on how enemy mid is positioned. Now, if you do this, you don't want to spend too much time in mid. If you can gank, go for it. If you can't, walk straight back down into bot lane. If the enemy team is pressuring your lane, obviously you want to go around just to be safe, like this. But if they're not, then you just want to go straight down because that's quicker. If you do this, if you go all the way from base to mid and then back to bot lane, if you do this when ADC and you both recalled at the same time, you will generally get to bot lane around the same time because of extra movement speed and brittle mobility. So it's not going to get ADC tilted, it's just going to allow you extra time, extra influence in other lanes. Obviously, if you come here and your jungler is nearby, you can invade enemy jungle if you need to. So if you and your jungler is here, you can invade enemy jungle if you need to. That's up to you. So just always come down over here and then towards mid and then bot lane. When you have, as soon as you have brutal mobility, this is fixed route pretty much. And low elo players don't really expect a gank from supports when they recall. So get used to this, you'll get good plays out of it. Now, let me just delete these. Okay, now let's say you have a control ward. So same route, you're coming down and then straight down to bot lane. If you have a control ward, if you only have one, obviously, if you don't have regular wards, you only have a control ward. Generally, I recommend placing a ward here, or in this bush, or in this bush over here. The reason why is because if you have it here, obviously this is better ward than the one in the river. It gives mid extra time if enemy team comes from this side and this side. This side, so this is the only gap in mid, right? Coming down here and like this, and then going into mid. This side, however, you can ward during your own laning phase. You don't have to get out of your laning phase to ward, just like these two locations. So I recommend setting up the control wards here, if you only have one ward, that is. Obviously, if you have your regular ward as well, set it up here, then yourself and mid are both safe from bottom side jungle, because the enemy jungler has no entry into the river. But now we'll assume that you have your quest item completed, so you have 3 wards available. Then what you want to do is walk up slightly. You don't want to walk too far because there's no need to. And you're trying to set up one ward here. You can set up a control ward here if you want. I recommend getting habit of placing control wards down, so it's a good habit to do that. Number 2 here in this bush. The reason why I place control ward here instead of up here is because obviously it has reduced chance of enemy spotting the ward. So regular ward, control ward, come around, and then up here, if you have enough time or you know enemy jungle is not there, regular ward here, so that's, and then regular ward here, and then that's 3 regular wards here and a control ward. So you have 4 wards placed on the map. Let's first talk about this setup. If you have it like this, you pretty much have your turret to your first ward, to your third ward, to your fourth ward, and then yourself over here. Right? What if you just draw a line like this, it pretty much rules out this whole section. Enemy can't enter this area. This entire area is pretty much warded. You know when enemy is in there, you know when they're not. This is why you want to set up vision like a line, just like this. Obviously, if you don't have enough time to set up these 2 wards like this, then you want to just set up a ward here and here. Now, there is disadvantage and advantage for both sides. If you do like this previous setup, it's pretty much warding the entire jungle, and you get an extra second notification before compared to this number 3 ward. However, you're vulnerable to a straight down the line gank like this, which is spotted in this case because of your 3rd ward here or 4th ward here. But if they gank from the jungle, you have 1 less second to react to it. So it's up to you how you want to set it up, but both setup is good. Because if we look at this one, you have your turret here, like that, and then it's pretty much the same as before. This entire area is secured. Now, if we look at, we'll go from the blue side. I'll do white. I think white is good. If we go from the blue side, you want to go down here like this, like that, and then you want to gank, and then go down to mid. Go down to bot. So pretty much the same route, just away from mid lane, just in case they see you coming, and then look for a gank. If it's not possible, you go straight down to bot. Because of brutal mobility, you'll be able to make it back to lane with your ADC if you and ADC recall at the same time. Okay, now what to do with ward? If you only have one, I recommend warding 2 places. I normally recommend warding here. If you only have your control ward, here, there's a bush there that you can ward in. If not that, you can ward here. This is better for your lane because if jungler comes around this side, it's very likely they'll gank bot. And it's away from enemy bot duo vision as well, so they're not going to know if the control was placed there. But it leaves mid a bit vulnerable compared to this ward. This ward strengthens the mid, because if enemy jungler comes down here, they'll likely gank mid. So it's depends on your team comp. Depending on which lane has better survivability, you just ward accordingly. So if, let's say, your mid is Israel, he has E to dodge, to run away, then you obviously want to just ward your lane before mid. So warding here is a better choice. But let's say we have Vayne mid or Yasuo mid, and he doesn't have flash, you probably want to ward the mid side because there's a good chance of him dying. But let's now talk about routes when you have your wards and your control ward. You want to set up a ward here. This is just a regular ward. Regular ward here. Regular ward here, if you can. But this can be here if it's a bit risky. That's up to you. So one of these 2 locations. And then the other one is here. You can place a control ward down here if you want, which I generally recommend. So you go, place a control ward, 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 ward. And then it's pretty much secured bot lane. The only exception is the blast cone here. That's the only gap because enemy team can come down like this and then use the blast cone over and gank. So you generally want to remove the blast cone at any time. Obviously, if you want to relocate your control ward, so instead of control ward being there, you can place it over here if you want, inside this bush. That's up to you. But you just want to generally set it up in a line so that you have the entire zone wiped out. Now, you normally want to buy 1 control ward. You always want to keep at least 1 control ward in your item during the laning phase. Even if you have 1 placed on the ground, on the map, you want to keep 1 in your item. But as soon as the laning phase is over, you want to buy 2 control ward. That's just a good guide for me, because you're not spending too much, but it allows you to remain focused to continuously buy control ward. I always keep that in mind. Always buy control ward, always buy brutal mobility, and take this route when you recall with ADC. And then you'll be able to make the most out of the boots. Obviously, it sometimes depends on luck because it depends on how your mid and enemy mid is playing, how your jungle and enemy jungle is playing, for you to get the most out of it. There will be some situation where you'll need to go outside this route, but this is just a basic guide which works most of the time in low elo. So always try to follow this. Always try to ward, like I said, and you should see improvement in your play. Now, this was actually a really good choice here to go for the Relic Shield, because if you went with the Spell Thief, this lane phase will be even worse. Vayne lacks wave clear, and as support, getting the Relic Shield helping him with the CS is definitely a good choice. If you went with Spell Thief here, Vayne, this wave will be even worse. You'll constantly get shoved regardless of how well you set up the fights. So it's very good item choice. Very good skill shots until this point. Now, Vayne makes the mistake of recalling here because you can simply just heal him up, but decides to recall. Now, this is, like I said, bad call by Vayne. However, we need to look at Senna's play here. So they have a wave here, and Senna knew that Vayne was low on health, but he's nowhere to be seen. So that you have a cannon wave here, and Vayne, who's low on health, is nowhere to be seen. What you should be doing here as Senna, obviously you're Nami, but as Senna, what you should be doing here is to help Jinx push this wave so that you can burn the CS under the turret. However, Senna doesn't do that, and because Jinx is the only one that's pushing this lane, it takes them forever to clear this wave. So far only one CS has been burnt, and then Vayne arrives. So despite this being a bad recall by Vayne, he only missed out on one CS because of Senna's mistake. So it turns out to be a good recall. He has an additional item over Jinx, so you have a slight advantage over the enemy team. So as support, always remember to help ADC push the lane whenever you can. We'll skip forward a little bit. Now, Graves is coming. He's already here, so you should be moving forward. See how... So you obviously have to keep an eye on the minimap. And... oh, sorry, my bad. I believe... did they not see? Did you stick to the wall? Because if you stick to the wall, you can't see them. Oh yeah, they didn't see him, I guess. Ah, no, they did see him up here though. Whoa, this wall didn't catch him. But they did see Graves up here. So, enemy team needs to be careful. They know Graves is boss side. So there's no reason for Senna to be here. Again, it's Senna's mistake. But let's see what you could have done better. So obviously, you knew that Graves was coming because he's on your team. Now, this is where you should be moving forward a little bit. You need to lure the enemy towards you. You have to bait them in, pretty much. If they knew that Graves was here, they'll retreat either way, and you'll be able to do free damage onto them. You'll be able to use your skill onto them freely. But if they come after you, you got your flash, so you can always just retreat if you need to. You just gotta bait them in a little bit. Because Vayne is pretty low on health, so he can't really tank it. So you're the one that can, and you should be trying to bait them in. But yeah, so this slight movement towards the backwards, slight movement backwards was unnecessary. But you land your Q here, Very good shot again. Yep, and that's a bit late to go after. And it's good good to stop that chase immediately. But now you got the kill and you have roughly 300 gold. Vayne has 1.1k. You got the kill just then. So what you need to do as support is to help him push this wave. Remember how in the last video, how you kept on just staying around? You have to use your skills. You got your Q, you got your E, you can buff up Vayne. You gotta use your skills to help him push this wave so that Vayne can recall. He needs to buy the items, even if it's a slow, slight margin. You know, an item is an item. Those extra stats is going to help him. So now is not the time to ward, obviously, because Senna is dead and Graves is still boss side. So even if Teemo comes, there's no CC for Teemo and Jinx. So it provides Graves enough time to come back and regroup for 3v2. So you win this fight. So instead of warding, you should be looking to help clear this wave quickly. It's not like where Vayne was extremely low on health, so that he'll just get one-shotted. If that's the case, then warding is dangerous in a different way, because Teemo can come this way. It's better to just heal him up. But in this kind of situation, always just help them wave clear first. And as you can see, it's even uneven match at top side. So you gotta play aggressively, pretty much. My concept of easy climbing is to play safely, let the enemy make some mistake. But in this kind of team, where enemy team is fed and your team is just getting destroyed, you need to play pretty aggressively. However, there's a catch to this. If we look at the items, you always have to look at the items when you recall, or when ADC recalls. ADC bought the shoes, upgraded version, the Berserker's Greaves. Now, as ADC, that is absolutely useless item until you have one core item. It can help him dodge some skills, but unlike other lanes, bot lane is 2v2. So it's pretty hard to dodge every skill, even with the extra movement. If it's one-on-one, like top and mid, I always recommend getting boots first, because you can dodge enemy skills easier, and you can use that extra movement speed to roam into other lanes. But as bot lane, it's always better to get damage items until you get the first core item done, and then you finish upgrading the boots. Obviously, regular boots is fine at all times. It's pretty cheap, but in terms of like expensive items, you always want to get the damage items first. Because what normally happens in bot lane is that as soon as you engage onto one, you gotta attack him once or twice maybe, and then back away. So there's never really a fight where you just sit there and spam attack. It's normally just one or two poke, and then you just get back. So in order to maximize the damage when you do that 1-2 poke, you want to get the damage items first before upgrading the shoes. Now, what this means is enemy team, enemy bot duo have 2 BS swords. So you can see that enemy team will have the lead whenever you trade for damage. So you shouldn't be looking for any fights here, because you'll likely lose the trade. Unfortunately, that's what you do. You step forward, you're looking for a fight, but you should not be looking for a fight here because of the items. And even if Vayne goes for a poke, he won't do any damage because of his items. So always look at the items, and you gotta play around what your ADC has. Now, enemy team. Let's see what the enemy team was doing. So they shoved the wave. See how they're sort of like wasting time here, even though they shoved the wave in. If they cast siege onto the turret, it's better to just roam and ward, or just roam into other lanes. There's no point to be sitting here. They're just wasting time. So even though I think they went into the river? Yeah, they did. So even though they did go into river, because they wasted it slightly, it provides Graves enough time, Bane enough time to wave clear, and Graves enough time to jump over so that they can sandwich onto Jinx. So you do well, you're out of range, so you engage with your ult and hit Senna. Very good engage, very good fight. So despite your lane having disadvantage in matchup and items, because of the enemy's mistakes, you get the lead. But this is where I feel like you could have snowballed a bit further. You decide to go for Dragon, that's fine, that is a good call. But a movement that would have slightly taken this an extra step would have been to push this wave before going to Dragon. The reason why I recommend pushing this wave before going to Dragon is because next wave is almost here. You can see if the wave is here, obviously the enemy wave will be somewhere around here. Yep. But then the wave will be stuck under the turret, so then you can burn 2 waves, or 1.5, like this wave, or 2 waves I guess in this case. You can burn those 2 waves, which if Jinx doesn't go for, if Jinx wants to stay at the dragon and compete for it, she'll miss out at the turret. So you'll sort of force her to go for the CS, but it's fine even if she doesn't. You'll still get the dragon. Why would you get the dragon? It's because you got Senna, you got the kill. So all enemy can do right now is Kha'Zix, Jinx, and potentially Teemo at bot lane. So that's 3 of them against 3 already at bot lane and Heimerdinger. Okay, so you have 3 on 4 at the moment at Dragon. So it's fine even if Jinx decides to stay around, you will likely win the team fight. Which means if you push this wave, you would have burned 2 extra waves of CS. So, and then you can see Teemo is up there. So this is pretty much a free dragon, but Kha'Zix makes a mistake. This is why I always say to play safely, because enemy make these kind of mistakes. But then, yeah, a bit unfortunate that Graves dies there. There's no way to dodge it. So 1 for 1, but then Kled also got a kill. So it's in the end, it's 2 for 2. Teemo and Kha'Zix dead for Kled and Graves, but you got a dragon, so it's still a good play. But because you didn't shove that wave in, you can see how the wave is in a bit of awkward situation here. Next wave is going to be arriving over here, yep. And now it's going to be frozen. So you decide to recall because you're not in good condition. That's a good call. But obviously if you shove the wave in, you wouldn't have missed out on this CS. But Jinx decides to push it, so it's not too much that you're missing out on. Alright, let's look at the next play. So you just return back from base. And Graves is doing really well here. He's continuously playing around the boss side because Kled is so far behind. It's very nice of him to focus on bot lane. Bit unfortunate that you can't get that kill. I won't really go into detail about that, because that's not what I really want to talk about here. Just want to talk about, so up to here it's okay. It's like nothing like huge mistake, nothing that's great play either. But here you end up getting a kill. You managed to kill Senna, and Jinx is very low on health. So obviously there's two objectives that you can take right now. One is to just quickly push this wave and pressure the turret, and the other one is the dragon. Clade's also down here, so making those two objectives must. You do well to, your team does well to split the team. Graves go for the dragon while the rest of you go for the turret. But here, you can see as you're sieging the turret, you're not going to have enough minions to demolish the turret. Next wave is the cannon wave, so obviously it will take you a bit longer. So you should be trying to use your skills immediately onto this wave so that it refreshes quicker, so that you can wave clear a bit faster. So you should be using your skills here to help Vayne push this wave, and you gotta keep an eye on the death timer as well, because you just gotta be aware when the enemy is going to be arriving. And now Jinx should be on the way back. So you did this much damage during that one wave while nobody was here. But now Senna, who died before Jinx, is going to be returned to lane. So you're not going to have enough time to pressure this turret without the rest of the teammates. So you should have just shoved the wave in, and then recall, instead of moving forward a little bit towards the turret, but there's not enough time for that. And second mistake here is you're stepping back way too much. You can actually see Senna here. There's no need to be recalling all the way back over here. You can just recall in this bush, and if Senna steps forward, you can just cut her off if you need to. There's no need to be backing this much. This extra few seconds that you missed out on over here and over here is pretty much the difference between being able to defend this turret and letting it go for free. So always keep in mind if you're in danger or not. And then here you can see that Jinx and Senna cleared the wave, and they cleared the turret as well. So they got nothing to do. They just came back from base. All they did was shove one wave and the turret, and then they just gone missing. You sort of saw them over here. So at the moment you can, I'm not sure how this is seen on the ward, but you can take a good guess that they're heading mid because they're not seen in boss side. Then and they were seen somewhere around here. You can take a guess that they're heading mid, and if we change the vision, that's what they're doing. So when this happens, always ping the rest of the team. This one is fairly obvious one, but even if it's not obvious, you gotta let them know that enemy team can be heading mid. And because of that, they get engaged on, and luckily it becomes 1-for-1 trade because of Hamiding is good play. Oh, I don't want that. He even broke my computer. Yeah, luckily it's 1-for-1 trade, but it could have been worse if they didn't react to it properly. Alright, onto the last play. You group as a team and you decide to siege on the turret with a little bit of health left. That's a very good call. And now you got the turret, you got the objective. Vayne is pretty low on health. And as you can see, you got a lot of gold, so you should be backing. And another reason why you need to back is your wards. You're out of wards, you don't have any vision at the moment. You got, whose vision is this? This one's one ward, and that's pretty much it. There's no other wards that you've really placed down. This one's Vayne's. So you need to really back. You need to get the ward so that you can set up the next play. this was good disengage. You weren't in condition to fight that, so very good disengage. And now you should be backing, and as you can see, you got the stopwatch here. You can expect the dragon to be spawning soon, but you don't. You don't back here. This is a huge mistake. It's just like last game. You always want to back before an objective. Always want to set up the wards around the objective so you can tell whether this is a free dragon, where the enemy is, and if you can turn for a fight. Get a habit of recalling before objectives. Now, Claire again gets cut. And then here, a fight happens, and Graves dies. Your team decides to go for the dragon, despite losing 2 players. And you successfully end up getting it. But that doesn't make this the right call. Obviously, it's wrong call because 2 of your teammates have been cut and Heimerdinger is back at the base because I think he disconnected for this game, still level 12. So it's a bad call. But we'll roll back a little bit and see why you were able to get the dragon. I'll show you why. So, we gotta look at the enemy team Senna. Senna has 4 wards currently available, and let's see. This is sets. So, Senna, okay, 1 ward. She has 1 ward placed here, but obviously this ward is useless because the team already pushed beyond that ward. This one is casters. So Senna can place 2 more wards and can replace this. So there's 3 more wards because this one's absolutely useless. She has 4 wards that she can place down, and she has 3 rooms to place on the map. And here Set gets cut. Engages onto Graves, almost gets destroyed, but managed to get a kill. But here, okay, now this is where Senna makes a mistake. Their team just cut off 2 of your team, and 4 of them is grouped in mid. So this is pretty much 4v3 from their point of view. They don't know where Heimerdinger is, so this is 4v3. It's a winnable fight. So what they should be doing is to go and compete for vision at the dragon. But instead, all they do is just run around in mid doing absolutely nothing, and because they don't have any vision around the dragon, they don't see your team getting the dragon here. If they had the dragon, they would have came and you would have been forced to back away, but because they didn't have any vision, because Senna didn't use that time where she wait, what? Did the dragon get stolen? The dragon got stolen. Okay, well, that was my bad. I thought, how did he smite early? Why the hell did he smite so early? Okay, that's really stupid mistake from Graves. $720, why did he... Wow. Okay. I'm speechless for that. But yeah, Senna had that chance to ward around the dragon, but because she didn't use that time, the split second that she had, she missed out on setting up the wards around the objective. So as support, always prioritize setting up the vision before focusing on your play, because if you have that vision, it will allow you to make more informed decisions and you'll be able to make less mistakes as well. Obviously they got lucky with this one. It should have been your dragon, but because of Graves' mistake, they got the dragon. I think that'll be all for this video. And yeah, I'll see you again next time.